So there's been a recent controversy, especially around the new Silent Hill 2 remake. And it's honestly, I think a lot of it's bad faith. I think a lot of it is missing the point altogether. It's really bad. So the thing that really kicked it off was this wonderful tweet by Smiley, right? And he was quote tweeting, learning the law, and that he was saying, what did they do to Angela from Silent Hill 2? Modern adaptations are becoming daily life nightmares. And then, of course, Smiley quote tweets that and says, I'm sorry, the traumatic abuse victim is not bangable in your Silent Hill 2 remake. So, first of all, this is why I said this is a really bad take, really bad faith take, because really, where in this post do you even see anything regarding Angela's appearance, other than the fact that they have them side by side, at least in terms of bangable, right? That's the big thing. Did they say anything about her being bangable? No, he didn't. This is why I'm saying this is an incredibly bad faith take about this. And of course, a lot of people replied to Smiley, and I think this one I really agree with right here, by Luffy for Palestine. I don't give a fuck if she looks bangable. She just doesn't look good here. She looks like an Ascension character. And of course, Smiley replies saying, let her forage for wild berries and make jams. What's it to you? And then Luffy for Palestine replies, what does that have to do with anything? I also don't care if she looks masculine. I personally don't fuck with graphics and character design on an elemental level. I don't like character creation formats that they're using. I think it makes the characters look boring and uninteresting. Now, I think the biggest issue that I have with this altogether is the fact that her character just looks wrong, right? And that's not because I'm like, oh my god, like, she needs to look more attractive. That's not it at all. I don't know who ever looked at Angela from Silent Hill and went, wow, I want to bang her. She looks like disheveled. She looks gaunt. And that's the whole point. Her character should look like she is like starving herself. She's not eating well. She looks kind of ghastly, right? That's the whole point. She is an abused victim, right? Her character design in the new game makes it look like she's not really that, she looks like she takes care of herself, like, relatively speaking. I mean, realistically speaking, I don't even like the fact that her head does not fit on her body. Look at, like, her head, right? Look at her face. Look at how, like, she does not have, like, a defined jaw, which is usually a characteristic of someone who's a little bit overweight. Of course, there's a lot of factors that go into face shape, so I'm not going to sit here and say that that is the face of an overweight person, but typically speaking, when someone does not have a defined jawline, it usually means that they are a little bit overweight. But when you look at her body, right, her body is incredibly petite. It's very small. So her head doesn't even really fit on her body, which, I mean, in itself is a problem, but it's just like missing the fact that her character was supposed to be this very traumatized abuse victim. She suffered a lot at the hands of her dad and brother, and of course she is finding a way to struggle with this. Now, I did there was a tweet from, I believe it was an artist named Jude Law, if I'm correct, and she chimed in and said that, you know, she could look like she was using food as a way to cope with the stresses of this. And I think that is a way that they could have done it. However, I don't think this character design makes any sense for that. Her face looks like she might have been eating a lot, but her body doesn't. So if they want to really go with that, I think they really need to go double down on that character design and say, hey, this is a character that uses food as a coping mechanism. But ultimately right now we have this weird mix where, like, her body looks like she is this very, like, tiny framed lady. She's covering up a lot. Obviously, a lot of this goes into her trauma. But her face looks like she's healthy. Her face looks like, oh yeah, I eat a good bit. I'm not really suffering with too much. And of course, like, that's not me saying that, oh, if you take care of yourself or you eat, you can't be suffering through some kind of mental issues. That's not my point at all. But my point is, character design is supposed to convey information to the player, right? It might not need to be immediate, right? You don't need to know what's going on immediately. But the thing about her design from the previous games is that they were immediately, or you can understand that something was weird, right? Like this lady, something was kind of off. She has this weird stare to her. She talks really weird too. In fact, a lot of the voice acting from Silent Hill 2, I don't even think it's really good voice acting, but I think it really fits the atmosphere of Silent Hill 2, which is like something's really fucking weird here, right? And of course, I found this right over here. This is a tweet by Twinkling Titanite saying, I can't believe how they butchered Angela in Silent Hill 2 Remake, so I fixed her face, I guess. And see, I think this is a more accurate kind of, I think, honestly, you could probably pull in the cheekbones even more, right? Pull in the face even more, make her look more, like, ghastly, right? Make her look haunted. That's the thing, haunted. And that's really what her character design was in the original, right? It was haunted, not the first game. The first game didn't have Angela. It was a completely different thing altogether. We have this quote by Kogenta Skull. I believe that's how you say it. And they say, I also prefer this edit. A lot of characters in Silent Hill often look pale, skinny, emaciated, almost. They don't look very healthy by a long shot. It also plays into the themes of the people who are very unwell beings drawn into Silent Hill to face their demons. This edit looks tormented. Yes, this is a point. None of these characters are in Silent Hill because they are like healthy individuals. A lot of them are dealing with a lot of stuff, a lot of like trauma. And particularly, the whole point is that they're not very good at handling their trauma. Characters like Eddie, obviously, he is someone who keeps blaming everything else for his own problems. Of course, a lot of these people, they end up facing their traumas in very poor ways and end up dying in Silent Hill for that particular reason. But, of course, there are people who are out here kind of taking the piss out of things, like Meme Bastard, what's happening with Silent Hill 2. Obviously, everyone's just kind of pointing out the fact that Angela, she looks very plump in the trailer. Of course, you got this one from Demon King Lamb, who fucking... See, like, this is like... And, of course, this is a good example of, like, pushing the boundaries far to the opposite way, right? Like... I don't want Angela to be bangable. That's a really bad faith take to say about someone, especially when they're commenting on the fact that the design is missing the key part of the lore. But this is like the opposite end, which is like, why does she have makeup on? She's not like this like girl who actively focuses on her own beauty. In fact, given the fact that she has a lot of trauma with her mom blaming her for what her stepdad did. If I remember correctly, it is stepdad. But it like just the fact that, you know, she would probably never want to look pretty in the first place, right? And of course, we have this comment by Kyo, Shaman Detective. Simple. She looks like a normal person in this, not a tormented teen in basically actual hell. She looks like she visited McDonald's more than Silent Hill. And while I do think this is a little pejorative, particularly by saying that she looked like she visited McDonald's more, I do agree. She looks way too plump in the picture. Not like she's fat, right? I should clarify that. She's not fat. She's a little plump. And again, if they want to go with the character who was plump, using food as a way to kind of cope with the trauma that she has in her life, I think you need to go all the way in with that character design. Like, why are you there only having this character who has like a kind of a more roundish face, but then she has a very like tiny body, right? And you can say, well, some characters are built like that, but that's my point, is that now you're making arguments saying that, oh, some characters can just look like that. But again, remember, the whole point of a character design in the first place is conveyance of information. What is the point of trying to convey the information that this is a normal, regular person? Because she's not. She's gone through hell. She's gone through awful things. Her character design should be conveying the information that she's suffering, that she has something wrong with her, that she is not in a good position, either physically or mentally. What's the point of having a character design that makes her just look like a normal person? Ultimately, it's just cope. Trying to say that about this. It's just cope. And of course, I think the bigger problem is the fact that this is compounding with a lot of the other character design choices that they decide to go with, particularly Maria. This is very egregious. I don't know why they thought this was a good idea. I don't know why they even thought, like, hey, we should do this. Her design is just really bad. I mean, just look at her. Her head is weirdly like too big for her body. They decided to put her in a dress, in a covered up red leather jacket. And this is what I mean by I don't think the people who are creating this remake of Silent Hill 2 understand these character designs. Ultimately, Maria's character was a representation of James's, like, I guess the best way to put it is his understanding of what he wanted his wife to be. Or maybe not even really what he wanted his wife to be, but like the desire that he wished he had with his wife, Mary. That's why she dressed kind of like a stripper in the first game. She was supposed to be over-sexualized because that's what her character meant to James. In fact, in one of the bad endings, he succumbs to this dream of having Maria take the place of Mary, and he basically dies in Silent Hill. They never confirm if he dies or not, but I'm assuming if you're in Silent Hill and you choose to be in Silent Hill, that probably means you're dying. You're choosing to die. But that's what happens when the ending, because again, Maria is supposed to be Mary, but in a very hypersexualized, very overtly feminized way. And then when I say feminized, I do really mean like it is like this kind of like femme fatale kind of character, right? That's the whole point of Maria. She is supposed to be this like stripper character, which I don't understand why they decided to make her character like this. She, like, it's not like she's unattractive, right? I wouldn't say that this is an unattractive character design. I'm just saying, why did you feel the need to want to change this so she is no longer what we would call conventionally attractive, right? Why did you have to make her look like she is not this very like seductive person? And ultimately, I think a lot of people have come to the same conclusion, which is because the modern audience, right? Because fucking Anita Sarkeesian, we can't sexualize any women at all, right? I think that's just a really... I do agree that some characters are overtly sexualized. I do think that there is a problem of making character designs that are like sexy for the point of being sexy, which is not a problem in itself, but it's like when every character design is like that and there's no ounce of originality and it's like everything just looks the same at that point, then I think there's a problem. But this is not that situation. This is a situation where it's like you're missing the point of the character by trying to design it like this. And of course, from Learning the Law, they tweet Silent Hill 2 modern audience versus Silent Hill 2 if they actually follow the lore, fixing Maria revised by anonymous individual in 5 minutes. Head proportion also fixed. So we can take a look at the original, which is on the left, and then we can look at the alter version, which is on the right. And again, I feel like this is the design that we needed. Of course, they changed her facial expression as well. Maria in the original game, there are moments where like she would be freaking out or whatever. So it's not like she needs to always have this like weird seductress look on her. But I do think that could actually play into, you know, being able to read her facial expression and figure out that something's not wrong or something's not right in the beginning at least, because it obviously goes to hell very quickly after you start to move along after that point.